So in a previous video, we talked about how you can add a fruit or fruit juice or other flavors to your water kefir, but we suggest doing that in the second fermentation. In other words, the fruit juice or fruit slices or herbs and spices, coconut water, whatever you want to add to that kefir, we suggest adding it directly to the beverage after the grains, the water kefir grains, have been removed from that batch of water kefir. In other words, you don't ever want the flavoring and the water kefir grains to touch. Now there's a reason why we recommended that, and that is that some spices and flavors, some fruit juices might have a bit of a negative reaction on the grains themselves. Some people have tried fermenting apple juice, for example, adding water kefir grains directly to the apple juice, and it can work, but it's much more difficult, and over time, it can damage the water kefir grains so that they'll no longer work properly, and that culture will basically be destabilized and not grow properly anymore. The same is true when it comes to making coconut water kefir, which is very popular. You absolutely can grow water kefir in coconut water. There are plenty of recipes out there and instructions to show you how, but there is a drawback. And that is that the water kefir grains cannot live indefinitely in coconut water. At some point, you're going to have to return those grains to plain water with molasses and brown sugar in order to revitalize them or keep them healthy. So if you absolutely want to flavor your water kefir during the first fermentation, for example, fermenting apple juice or some other juice, or fermenting coconut water, you can, but here would be two suggestions. Suggestion number one might be to wait until your water kefir grains have multiplied and you're able to ferment 2 batches of water kefir at the same time. That way you can have a group of grains that are continuing to grow and reproduce very healthily in the sugar water with the molasses and the brown sugar, just like our instructions suggest, and that way they'll stay strong and continue to reproduce. But at the same time, you can experiment with fermenting water kefir in a variety of flavored waters, fruit juices, or coconut water without worrying about damaging those grains, because it's your second group of grains. If they die, you can throw them out. You'll still have your original set of grains. The second suggestion we have for you is if you're going to use your grains to ferment, say, coconut water, the idea would be to ferment the grains in coconut water for 1 or 2 batches and then go for another 1 or 2 batches in plain water, sugar water with molasses, following the instructions that we have on Poseymom.com. Now, because the batches with the coconut water are probably going to damage the growth of those water kefir grains, don't expect the water kefir grains on the plain sugar water batches to produce good quality kefir. It might taste kind of funny, it might not work well, but the purpose of the sugar water batches in this case would be simply to revitalize and feed your water kefir grains so they'll be able to return in future batches once again to the coconut water to make that delicious coconut water kefir if that's what you want to grow. So there you have it, 2 suggestions for flavoring your water kefir if you want to do the flavoring on the first fermentation instead of doing as we at Poseymom recommend and waiting for the second fermentation. I hope these suggestions will work out well for you. Feel free to experiment with different recipes and different flavors and different procedures to see what works out best for you. And until next time, stay healthy and proud.